the hottest team in the city, the best team in the city, and it's not even close. The Detroit Lions.
Some winners.
Some winners, and somebody who's tapped in around the league, known to be tapped in around the league, probably the most tapped in out of anybody around the league. Adam Schefter was on Get Up today, and he talked about the Detroit Lions making a move at the trade deadline, bringing in a pass rusher. He said how he expects it to happen.
Oh, yeah.
He says how he can't fathom a team being so close and so good and not giving up what he said a third-day pick to go out and bring in a pass rusher to keep them idly by until Aiden Hutchinson comes back. Players he brought up were Azeez Ojulari and Zadarius Smith. These are two guys that Detroit Lions fans have been talking about. These are two guys that are in that middle tier of pass rushers that the Lions fans have been talking about. Nick, first of all, shout out Schefty. He knows ball. He knows what he's talking about. I expect the Detroit Lions to make a move. I've been saying that the whole time. We talked about Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, and all that good stuff, but we always said that was a pipe dream.
Yep.
Would you be happy if you brought in Ojulari or Zadarius Smith?
If it was one of them, I'd say, all right, at least we're not, sitting on our hands here and not making any moves when the defensive player of the year at the time got injured for the season.
Yes.
You saw a team in Minnesota, their left tackle goes out for the year. What'd they do? Immediately go out and get a left tackle to replace him. I'm extremely curious about Azeez Ojulari because this dude has been on a hot streak.
Yes, he has.
He has 6 sacks now in 8 games. You already have Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau in New York. Mm-hmm. This guy's due up a contract next season. So at the end of this year, he's an unrestricted free agent. So you're talking about a rental. You're talking about a pick that probably wouldn't be too expensive when you're only getting him for half of a season. That intrigues me more than the vet in Zadarius Smith. How about you, Spenny?
I 100% agree with you. When I look at Ojulari, this is a guy that would be coming in here trying to do everything he can to get the biggest payday possible next year. And it doesn't have to be from the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
You could kill 2 birds with 1 stone in this. You could do one of those trades, whether it's a 5th or 4th round pick, and put the stipulation on it to, like, if we make the Super Bowl, then it's a better pick.
Okay, I like that.
And have that in there. And then on top of that, if Ojulari does go out there and signs a massive contract from another team in the offseason, you get that pick right back. You will get that pick right back in compensation. I think that is a move. Again, I don't think that should be the only move. Obviously, I would love Trey Hendrickson and those guys.
Yep.
But between these two, which Adam Schefter mentioned that he thinks the Detroit Lions will and should trade for somebody, Ojulari makes the more sense to me because he's hungry. He's ready to go prove to people that he can be a top flight edge rusher.
Yep.
You can go do that on the big stage with the best team in the NFL, win a Super Bowl, and then get paid from somebody else. I think it's a no-brainer if you are in talks with the Giants to go get him.
Yeah, and I think this is the type of guy you bring in where he will go out and get the quarterback. Just flat out.
Yes.
He's going to go get the job done. But when talking about Ojulari, and you talk about the stipulations there, if you have to give a third rounder, and we don't have our 2025 third rounder, so in 2026, to go out for half a season, would you give up a third rounder for this kind of high upside potential, but it's only for half a season, knowing you could get that back if he leaves for free agency?
Yes, I absolutely would. I would frame it as a 4th rounder, but if you make the Super Bowl, it becomes a 3rd rounder, like that kind of deal. But yes, I absolutely would. A 3rd round pick is worth the Super Bowl to me. And if you get a guy that will, the guy who leads this team in sacks cannot be on the team right now, and you need to have a guy in double-digit sacks. He would solve both of those. You go get him. I'm confident that this team will win the Super Bowl. I would do that for a 3rd rounder in a heartbeat.
So the Giants GM calls, and he goes, well, we got the Bears on the other line for a 3rd rounder that's projected to be better than yours.
Yeah.
Would you do a 3rd that could turn into a 2? How high are you willing to go for Ojulari?
No, I would not do a 3rd that would turn into a 2.
Too high.
Too high.
For half a season?
A 2 is too high, yeah. I would do a 3rd. 3rd is the highest I would go. Because I would tell them, go ahead, trade him to the Bears then.
Yep. steep, and that's why I kind of wanted to get it in division there. But speaking of the other player that we brought up, the proven veteran in Zadarius Smith.
Yeah.
Played alongside Myles Garrett for now 2 years. What do you think Zadarius Smith actually brings to this team as the 32-year-old proven vet? Can he be that difference maker if it is just bringing in Zadarius Smith?
I think he can be a difference maker. Again, either of these guys, I would want multiple players. I don't think either of these guys are just the one and dones. But if you just get Zadarius Smith, he's automatically your best pass rusher. He is a good 3-down defensive end. He can play in the run a little bit too, and he's good enough and crafty enough to beat one-on-ones. And you know DJ Reader and Ali McNeil are going to be seeing double teams, so he's going to get some one-on-ones. He's not going to get the Hutchinson treatment just because he's on the Lions. So he's going to see some favorable matchups. I would love that too. I would love Zadarius Smith on this team.
Yeah, I would really like this, and I would think it would take like a fourth, maybe a seventh added onto that.
Yeah.
To go out and get Zadarius Smith, because your fourth rounder is not as good as other teams' fourth rounders, because you're projected to be in that Final Four, and other teams around the NFL know that. But one thing specifically about Zadarius Smith that I do like is that he played for Green Bay and Minnesota. I like that because he knows these NFC North matchups. He has played for those teams.
Yeah.
And those other teams let him walk. He has something to prove against Green Bay when he goes up against them. Mm-hmm. Something to prove against Minnesota when he goes up against them. And let's not forget that this is the best division in football right now. And you might have to play those teams a third time in the playoffs. So to have a proven vet who has 5 sacks on the year in Zadarius Smith, I am more than willing to give up a fourth and a seventh. When you're talking about some depth guy that might play on special teams, that's what you're giving up for a key contributor to a Super Bowl. I'm doing that every day of the week.
Yeah.
Zadarius Smith, you, sir, are a Detroit Lion.
Absolutely. You know, you got to do it at this point. You've got to bring somebody in. And like Schefter said when he was talking on Get Up, is there is absolutely no reason for them to hold on to a second or third day pick and not win a Super Bowl because of it. Like, there's no reason a team that is this close would hold on to a midday pick and just be like, okay, no, we're fine. Especially Josh Pascal, again, not practiced today.
Yikes.
You don't know what's going on there. Is the sickness worse? Is he all right? Is he going to play? But even if he plays, that's all you got. If you have one more injury, God forbid, on that defensive line, you're done. You're cooked.
Yeah.
So you already had 4 guys who would be rotational pieces at worst to defensive player of the year at best. All of them gone. All of them done for the year. You need to get some depth there. You need to get some impact pieces. And I think they will. I truly believe they will.
If they only go out and get Smith for this team for that fourth and a seventh, do you believe that is enough to still win the Super Bowl and beat one of those super teams in the AFC, whether it's Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, whether it's Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs? Is going out and getting a Zadarius Smith enough for you? And would you be happy on that Wednesday after the trade deadline?
I would be happy, and I do think it would be enough personally. Not to stamp it, guarantee, but he would make a play or two in that game because that's the player he is. And that's all you would need out of him at that point, because the way the secondary is playing and how they're picking off balls and the way the offense is humming, you would just need a play or two that could possibly spring the game. So that would be, obviously I would want 2 more just to have a better feeling and have more guys that can get to the quarterback. But if it was just one of them, I wouldn't stamp my guarantee on the Super Bowl, but I would be obviously a lot happier than I am now.
Yeah, agreed there. I think there's no doubt that Brad doesn't go out and make a move. I think he will. If it is Smith and Ojulari, I'm going to be extremely happy come the day after the trade deadline. This team, is already the NFC favorite, but I think it does get up there in the same numbers as Kansas City as the Super Bowl favorite.
If you're just getting one guy, it's got to be a guy.
Yeah.
It's got to be Trey Hendrickson, a guy that can get you 15 and a half sacks if you're just getting one guy.
Yeah.
You can get 2 10-sack guys. That would be perfect.
Yeah, to me, I think if you can go out and get Trey Hendrickson for a first-round pick right now, I know we didn't bring him up because Schefter didn't bring him up within his report, because I think the Bengals still might believe that they're contending, even though they shouldn't. But, I mean, when you have Joe Burrow, anything's possible. If they can trade a first for Trey Hendrickson, I would do it in a heartbeat.
I would do that right now. Yes, I would do that.
Because then you have him next year to pair with Hutch. You're talking about a guy that's top 5 in sacks the last 3 seasons in Trey Hendrickson. To pair that with an elite guy already in Aiden Hutchinson next year, I mean, sky's the limit for this team.
Then he leaves, and he gets paid $20 million a year after next year, and you get a draft pick back.
3rd rounder.
Like,
come on home.
Yeah, I would do that for sure.
Yeah.
Trey Hendrickson would be my, like,
pipe dream.
Somewhat realistic pipe dream. Yeah, because, like, obviously the pipe dream is Max Crosby or Myles Garrett, but Trey Hendrickson is a real possibility of that.